It's now with great pleasure that I introduce our keynote speaker for this Congress, Sister Rose Pacatte. Sister Rose is the founding director of the Pauline Center for Media Studies in Los Angeles and heads its international office now in Rome. A media literacy education specialist and award-winning film critic, she co-authored the Lights, Camera, Faith series and books on media mindfulness and faith formation. Rose has taught at the Catholic University of America and the University of Dayton. She addressed various international religious and educational groups on digital discipleship and is the coordinator for the Sisters Communicate project of the International Union of Superiors General in Rome. I'll now hand over to Sister Rose.
So good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Australia has always been on my bucket list, especially when I started watching Australian movies. And when I went to England for 2 years to study education and media studies, and the professor said, watch TV every day. So guess what I watched every day? Home and Away and Neighbors. And last night, for the first time in 30 years, or 29 years, I watched Home and Away. I didn't recognize anyone. But I can imagine I could get into it fast enough. It's really magical to be here, and I don't know by whose means that I got here, who told who what, but I'm just very happy about that. Let's see, where do I put this? Oh. So I'm a daughter of St. Paul, and some of you may know our sisters from, we were in Adelaide before, but we had to close our shop there. But we have a bookstore here in Sydney and one in Melbourne. But we were founded by Blessed James Alberione to proclaim the gospel using the media. But not just to proclaim the gospel, but to also evangelize the very media that we use. Because we need to be able to think about what we consume and what we create. And that's the reason I do what I do. So as an American, I must admit to loving your Australian accent and what you produce. In the US, we do not have an accent. Right? Your movies, I've seen The Man from Snowy River at least 20 times. Your great film directors, Peter Weir, Baz Luhrmann, Gillian Armstrong, Mel Gibson, thanks for that, you gave him back. But that's on both of us. And of course, actors like Crocodile Dundee. We'll never, ever be done with Crocodile Dundee. He keeps showing up on the television circuit all the time. Here too? No, only by choice. Okay. But let me add Kate Blanchett and Nicole Kidman and the great Toni Collette to my list. Strictly Ballroom, The Castle, and television, A Town Like Alice with Brian Brown, the long version. I've seen both, I've read the books by Neville Shute, and then the TV series that followed. And then The Shirley is absolutely one of my favorites, especially the books by Darcy Nyland, who wrote, there was a man who had a cross, and his name was Macaulay. He put Australia at his feet, he said, in the only way he knew how. His boots spun the dust from its roads, and his body waded its streams. It's a biblical truth, Nyland wrote, that we all have burdens. And for those of you, all know the story, right? Some are saying yes. Well, his burden was a little daughter, and that he rescued from his wife who wasn't living very well. So it's a lovely story. But the thing is, your literature and the culture that you've produced is really beautiful. And then my brilliant career, it goes Bunk by Miles Franklin, and then as I mentioned about the soap operas, On the Beach by Neville Shute, the original about nuclear warfare, how it couldn't be more relevant than it was when I saw it at 12 years old and was scared to death. It could still happen. And why? Because of an enhanced language model that we call artificial intelligence. Language is the key word here, communication. And finally, let me mention my latest favorite Australian show, Fisk, with Kitty Flanagan. We get it on Netflix. It's so dry and funny, what great casting and great actors. Whom's? Anybody? Nobody? Who? Oh, okay. Oh, those. So I saw that actually on Blue Healers. Yeah, that's running on Amazon. You can get it for free with ads. Really free. But I'm not here to promote Australian culture back to you or impose American culture from Silicon Valley or Hollywood, but to spend some time talking about the theme of my talk, the power and the pitfalls of the digital landscape, and break it open, and its power to transform everything, especially as it and the power we have as Catholic communicators, journalists, and creatives. If we think in terms of AI, we can say it is becoming increasingly nationalized. Every nation wants to control it for their own use, as the New York Times said a couple of weeks ago, with global implications for economics, and yes, health, education, but also the military-industrial complex. And I think the United States bears a huge burden in that way, in a bad way. In other words, we don't want to be cynical here, but we need to be realistic. It's much about profit. The challenges of the digital landscape are myriad everywhere. And as Darcy Nyland wrote, it is a biblical truth that we have crosses to bear, and we will have burdens as Catholic communicators as we are challenged by what we do ourselves and what happens around us. And it is a truth that gospel Catholic teaching and Pope Francis have said. They all have something to say to all of this, especially through the framework of Catholic social teaching. So let us begin to break the silence and proclaim the good news in freedom and faith, and embrace our role as digital communicators. But before we start with an AI experience, I need to tell you that I resolved several years ago to begin every talk I give with a joke. So of course, I asked AI for some jokes. If there is one thing that may console all of us about AI, it is its total inability to tell an appropriate joke. That is actually funny. The first time I asked for a joke last year, it told me to be aware that some people may be offended by a joke. And then it gave me 5 appropriate jokes for Catholic communicators and explained them to me. Thank God, maybe it's because I am using the paid version now. It no longer explains the jokes. So here goes. Pending your reaction, I'll continue. I have 5 of them. What do you call a kangaroo who reads the Bible? A pouch of the good news. Why don't Australian Catholics get lost in the outback? Because their GPS stands for God provides safely. Oh, that was a little better. You see what I mean? You really have to worry about AI. Okay, I'll just keep going. Okay, here's one. How do Catholic communicators in Australia and New Zealand keep their spirits high? They always qualify their message with a touch of joy and faith. They're like really bad dad jokes. Okay, so now the next one is a prayer song. I wrote the original poem, if you will, and then I gave it to one of our sisters who works with this particular Suno.com, and it takes your lyrics, puts them into song form. You choose the genre of music that you want, and this is what we get. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's the other, there you go, there's the pouch Bible. Okay.
where masters craft each sacred space, a digital home for love and grace. And to the youth with dreams so high, your time will come to testify. With zeal and joy you'll take your stand, proclaiming Christ in every land. So let us celebrate this holy call to spread His truth and love to all. In every word, in every deed, may Christ be known in every digital feed.
Isn't that cool? But guess what the big question is? Who owns the copyright? Can I take this and do a whole bunch of them and then release it? I don't know. I'm not really sure. So that opens a whole new world of respect for creativity, but who owns it? Well, let's move ahead here. Oh, wait, where did I go? We're going to look a little bit at the digital landscape. And can you start this? This is from Crazy Rich Asians. You might remember it.
Like Queens?
Like Singapore for spring break. Colin's wedding. We've been dating for over a year now, and I think it's about time people met my beautiful girlfriend. Come on. I'm Colin's best man. Don't you want to see where I grew up? Meet my family, my Omar, and meet up with that strange college roommate of yours.
Piglet?
Mm-hmm.
She has been begging me to come visit her, you know.
The universe has spoken. It wants you over there. Come to Singapore. I want the whole island to meet the brilliant Rachel Chu.
She's never heard of her.
Rachel Chu. Or maybe she's from the Taiwan Plastics Chu family.
If you want, I have a private investigator, very discreet.
I think we should return to the Word of God. Alex.
Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Bring up your children in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Oh, I do hope she's a good Christian girl. It must be serious.
Exactly.
It's my mom. Do you mind? All right. Save us now. Hey, Mom. Everything okay?
Does something have to be wrong for me to call?
Yeah, usually.
Ha ha ha, very funny.
Are you bringing the girl you're seeing to Colin's wedding?
We were literally just talking about that. How could you know?
Every everybody knows.
Radio 1 Asia.
Move on to Corinthians. I'll catch up.
I think this is such a great scene, which you can see that I captured with my iPhone because it's not straight. Sometimes on YouTube you can find the actual scenes that you want, which is really great to put into a talk. But social media is, of course, one of our biggest concerns, and there's now with AI being, well, AI was always present in it, but now that it's so obvious, I think our concerns are growing, but the creative possibilities for new technology as well as our concerns and that they present, well, that's what we need to pray for and work for, is the wisdom to know the difference. So this particular clip, I love to show this because it goes back to 94 and 95. And it was made on the 25th anniversary of the internet. So it's looking back. And I think, well, how many of you were using the internet in 95? Did you start right away? Were you aware of it? Okay. Okay, you'll probably get a kick out of this. Okay, let's see. Can you play this?
Millions of Americans own a personal computer. If you're one of them, you can now glimpse the future with nothing more than a modem, a phone line, and a few dollars a month.
That little mark with the A and then the ring around it?
At?
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I've never heard it. I've never heard it said. I'd always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
Just what is this main artery of the information superhighway?
Every business, no matter how large, and no matter how small, will be on the internet in the year 2000. It's the primary way that people will look up information. It will replace the yellow pages as we know it today.
Are a lot of people just getting on to the internet because they feel that they have to get onto the playing field, so to speak?
But it's very hip to be on the internet right now.
Violence at NBC, GE.com. I mean...
Well, Allison should know.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network. The one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big? How does what do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No, she can't say anything in 10 seconds or less.
I'm afraid that if I subscribed to something like internet, you would really be hooked. I would get hooked and I would never, spend time with my family. Does it bother you at all that these are all people that you don't really know? I mean, that everybody's signing on and having these conversations and whining together or griping together or whatever with people that, I don't know.
It is group therapy of the 90s.
Well, as I mentioned, I have no desire to be a part of the internet because I feel like I'm so inundated with information all the time that I don't want more. Don't you ever feel like it's just constant bombardment?
I guess the thing I resent most is I would resent that, at least when you're home, if the phone rings, you have the option of not answering it. On the internet, people can send you messages all the time you don't even want to hear from them.
Not moving ahead. There you go. All right. So that Katie Couric, the one who said that she wouldn't have time for her family, she now owns her own media empire. So it doesn't last long. It's like my sister when she had her 2 children. I guess they were born in 1999 and 2001, and she said she would never let her children watch television. Do you know how long that lasted? 3 weeks. The rise of digital platforms has transformed economies, reshaped industries, and consumer behavior, enabling personalized experiences through data analytics and AI. Data is the whole thing, data collection. I call it data vacuuming. all these companies want our data so that they can find a way to sell it back to us. While fostering innovation, this shift disrupts traditional models, raising concerns about privacy, competition, and regulatory oversight. However, amidst accelerated consumerism and unchecked capitalism, the human element risks being overshadowed, prompting urgent reflection on how to ensure technology serves humanity within a framework of wise and sane regulation. But there are a lot of benefits. So, the thing about digital, I'm just going to pop them all up there so you can see them. The thing is about digital communications, it has the transformative power for good in the world and the ability to connect, to educate, and empower individuals and communities across the globe. So you can, I won't read this to you because reading is called death by PowerPoint, reading slides. However, I think that the idea of connectedness is so important. I wish my mother had had Facebook. She could have stayed in touch with her 8 children, her 19 grandchildren, and if she had lived long enough, her 22 great-grandchildren. And I think that's one blessing, isn't it? But then every time we go online, we are giving up an aspect of our privacy to some degree. And you know how you search for a new pair of shoes on Amazon and all of a sudden ads on Facebook appear for shoes? How is that happening? It's AI. It's AI working behind everything. And people who created the algorithms, the categories, the ways, I call the boxes, the connected boxes, and they're writing codes that connect everything. But what is the response to that? It's questioning every aspect of this new reality. Well, it's not really new, but it's always converging and emerging more and more. If we know how to ask questions of what we access and see in digital media or because of it, we can become more literate, more critical thinkers, and informed citizens and consumers, because we are consuming. Then something happened in 1995, if we go back a little bit with the audience. If you look up there in the corner, that's legacy media. It's television, print, radio. It's all one way. There was really, unless you sat down and wrote a letter, made a phone call, there was no way to talk back to what you were getting and receiving. But then came the internet and everybody's personal computers and laptops, smartphones, 2005, I think, right? 2006. And everybody became not only an audience, but a creator, a media creator. But we also had a chance to respond, hopefully to respond rather than react. But if you see this down here, though, you know, that whole idea of being able to respond. I was in London in 1995 when, do any of you recognize this gentleman? One of the most famous atheists in the world. He's now deceased, God rest your soul, Christopher Hitchens. And he contacted our sisters in London, who are in Japan, and I was living in London at the time. And they, Channel 4 in the UK, which is really was a controversial station at the time, or channel, wanted permission to use a documentary that one of our sisters had made on Mother Teresa because they were doing a special on her. Well, our sister said it's $10,000 per minute, which was that's the industry rate, in case you didn't know. And I think it still is, it's not more. But, so they came to us in the UK and said, can you help us to get some footage because we can't afford that on our budget. So we interceded and we got the footage for them. But weren't we surprised? I was the only one at home that night when it aired. And the name of the series that or the show, and you can see it on YouTube if you feel you can stomach it, is called Hell's Angel. And he really took Mother Teresa apart limb by limb and criticized her. It was just terrible. And the worst thing is that he said, why is she feeding the poor and picking the sick up off the streets and accompanying the dying when she should be changing the systems that keep people poor? Really? One woman should be doing that? what are you doing, dude? You know? So I was so outraged. At the end, I called the station and I asked to speak to Christopher Hitchens. And the girl said, he's not here right now. And I said, can I leave a message? She said, okay, or yes. And I said, can you please ask Christopher Hitchens when he's leaving for India to change the system that is keeping people poor? And she said, okay. And so I left my name and my phone number. He never called. But you know, the Channel 4 had a policy when they air these controversial programs, which they did all the time, was the next week to have people in to respond to them. And I couldn't, it used to be on the internet, but I couldn't find their response. But that's what we had to do in order to, in the olden days, to be able to respond when we were outraged. And it changed nothing, because you couldn't go back and take it away, what was already broadcast. And you would hope that people would watch the response and the conversation that followed. Media conglomerates would record the numbers and complaints that came in, or positive reactions, but mostly they wanted data. They didn't much care about what you thought while you were consuming that media. Boycotts or threats of a boycott could sometimes make a network remove a program in the UK, In the UK, the then notorious Channel 4, as I said before, with the controversial programming, would have had to offer a response. But in 1995, that all changed. That October, I was returning to Boston from the UK and bought a copy of Wired magazine at the airport. They had already nailed it. Audience positioning had changed. In the US, America Online and Yahoo had journals, online journals, and RSS, really simple syndication feeds, and every person in front of a computer, on which all the other analog legacy media would be transformed by digital media and converged by 2005. And then, as I said before, this made everybody a content provider, hinged or unhinged, true or false, for better or for worse, or in between. This new reality became infotainment, or edutainment, if you will. Something Marshall McLuhan, the great Canadian philosopher of communication, once noted in 1967. This one I will read. Anyone who tries to make a distinction between education and entertainment doesn't know the first thing about either. This is why I'm sorry that both the bishop conferences of the US and Australia have let go of their film reviews, and the USCCB, our Bishops' Conference, even closed its 100-year-old press service. Why can't we understand, as you said, that it is the storytellers who own the culture? Sometimes it seems as if communications is more of a burden that gets in the way of the real work of evangelization, when communications can facilitate and make better and more effective every aspect of the evangelization apostolate of the church. Here are more benefits. Digital communications empower marginalized communities. They enable social justice advocacy. But you know, when you advocate for social justice, you always get reactions, don't you? And people who don't agree with you. And that's okay as long as it's not a bot that's going around just duplicating nasty responses. Facebook thinks it's so great, but bots are all over the place. And also people imitating your accounts. Do you get that? Mm-hmm. And you reply to them, you report to them, and they said they're not violating community standards. So what is community standards? You could steal somebody's identity, and that's okay. So it's very, it's difficult, and it's labor intensive. So how many of you have a Facebook account? Instagram? X, used to be Twitter. Imagine they took that cute little blue bird and replaced it with Darth Vader. That's what it seems to me. So you all are familiar, you know, and I mostly use Facebook, but that's also my age demographic. You know, us older folks seem to like Facebook. And all the other nuns say, you should be on Instagram, that's where the young people are. I said, but you know, older people need to see cat videos too. I love cat videos. My favorite group that I belong to, and it's the nicest group, is called Episcopal Cats with Problems. No, it's funny. So when I asked to join, I said, I'm Catholic, is that okay? I don't even have a cat. All my cats live on Facebook. So there's a lot that can be done. The Me Too movement, Enough, is our anti-violence campaign. Hopefully, maybe, if our presidential elections go well this year, we will actually take on the gun industry. And then facilitating humanitarian efforts, and then fundraising. And I think there's going to be some talks about all these things here today. As AI too, so I'm not going to do too much with that, more than what I've done. A few more benefits. Fostering innovation, civic participation in a civilized manner. Wait, go back. Okay. I actually think these pretty much speak for themselves. Tools like Zoom exemplify the potential, I think, of the benefits of a digitized, connected world. Are all of you Zoomies? Did you learn on? We all became Zoomies during COVID, so yeah, we're all good at it. It's got a lot of benefits, connecting people, but you know, there's also downsides to Zooming too, because you miss the one-on-one interaction. And people can turn their video off and go get a cup of coffee. They can watch their favorite TV show. You know, my sister's supposed to, she's a nurse and she's supposed to do professional updating, I don't know, twice a year by Zoom. She just hates it. But now they've started calling on people, you know, to respond by name, so you have to pay attention. You can't turn your video off. They caught up. So the faith, there's a huge faith dimension that's still to be developed, I think, with social media, and that's, of course, spreading messages of hope and positivity. And faith-based communities, charitable organizations, and individuals can use these platforms to inspire others, promote moral values, and contribute to a more compassionate and just world. But not just moral values, human values that we all share regardless of what our faith is. So what happens when you come across nonsense on social media? And you're a nun, and your superior has said not to get involved in controversies online. And someone you may know and love posts that they are a flat earther, that they deny that the earth is round. Your blood pressure rises, and you have the passionate urge to post something death-defying to their feed. It just overcomes you. But I learned something from a friend about flat earthers. Sometimes all you need to do is post a video and it will answer. Can you play that? People who are flat earthers obviously never had a cat. Please play. I won't play. Too bad. Anyway, it's a whole series of the cat pushing things off the counter. Right? So I think we have to trust our senses, as Aristotle said. There's nothing in the brain that wasn't first in the senses. So if we can see that the earth is not flat, I think we have to believe it. Certainly the transformative power of digital communications lies in its ability to harness these opportunities for the common good, for human dignity, promoting a more connected, informed, and just global community and society. By using these tools responsibly, individuals and organizations can contribute to positive change and the betterment of society. So, Pope Francis urges Catholic communicators to foster dialogue promote peace, and spread love and truth in the digital landscape. This is AI, right? Did you all see this when it made its rounds?
Yeah.
Right. How can you tell this is AI? I mean, besides the fact that he would never wear it. The hands. AI does not do hands well.
Yeah.
If you want to look and see carefully if it's an AI image, look at the hands. But Pope Francis calls for authenticity. He's very concerned about AI, by the way, and the use of digital platforms to build bridges, avoiding fake news and upholding human dignity, especially for the marginalized. Highlighting the Synod on Synodality, he emphasizes the role of digital tools in creating an inclusive, listening church, encouraging widespread participation, genuine dialogue, and a more connected communal church. But sometimes you just have to love social media.
Can you count backwards for me, please? Okay?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Well done. Chloe.
That's how you lose time. But at least you get inspired, or you laugh, and laughter is good for the soul. So last year, the Dicastery on Communications came out with this document. It's online, it's available. I see some of you nodding your head. But I spoke at a communications conference in Baltimore, and the head of the Dicastery was there, and a lady that works in the Dicastery as well. And I have a big criticism of the document. It's got a lot of, it's 90% really good information, and it's encouraging us in many ways, but it doesn't tell us how to do anything. It mentions critical thinking once, and it mentions media literacy education once in the index. How many of you have read the index? So, and then it says somewhere in there that there are groups of religious doing interesting things about education in this regard, but they don't really tell you how to do it. But never fear, the Daughters of St. Paul are near. Just to take a minute to talk about how addiction works with social media. Maybe you already know this. The dopamine, hormone dopamine gratification loop. You post something, you check to see how many responses you get a boost from that, so what do? You keep repeating the process. It's the same process as gambling addiction. It's the same as advertising works this way. Amazon works this way. Every time you get a parcel, you get happy because you got a parcel even though you paid for it, and then you do it again. Okay? So this is important to keep in mind that it's physical. It becomes a physical addiction. So it's not really a moral issue, it's physical. But this is easy. Everybody can learn this. Oh, by the way, I see some of you taking pictures. I want you to feel free to take pictures. I'm sharing this with you, and I'll share it with Paul and Jenny afterwards, and hopefully you can post it if you want. I will remove Crazy Rich Asians because I don't want you to be sued. Even though there's fair use in education, and this is education. But anyhow, this think protocol comes from Socrates, I think, originally. But is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? You can teach a 5-year-old this. You can teach a 100-year-old this. We can all learn this. Thinking and asking questions. And then casually learn how to do it in a family setting, in the car on the way home from seeing a film, if you still do that. It's taken a while for people to get back to the movies, right? But to learn to access, analyze, evaluate, and create forms of media. And this is also helpful to think about while creating media. Educating children and young people is really important. We could say they're the media makers of tomorrow. They're the media makers of today. And online bullying is, of course, one of the biggest problems that we have. But here's another way we can do media literacy or media mindfulness, as we like to call it. It correlates really well with theological reflection. So this kind of brings media mindfulness or media literacy education. It's good for the soul. But to ask ourselves what's going on, what's really going on, like underneath, behind the scenes. What difference does it make? What difference can I make? Well, to ask, what am I seeing, hearing, reading? What's in front of me? What am I listening to? Then who pains and who gains from this? You know, Coca-Cola ads in South Africa, to post-apartheid South Africa. This is going back about 15 years ago. Coca-Cola and the government got together and they created all these ads that Coca-Cola will create brotherhood and friendship. It will also rot your teeth. I mean, the side effects of Coca-Cola and other sodas are for obesity and all kinds of things. And so, who pains and who gains from this? Then what Christian values does this media experience support or ignore? Who's left out? Who's included? And then what response seems appropriate? This is the hardest thing when I teach in a more formal course setting. You know, my students whine, Sister Rose, what do you want us to say? I said, well, think about it. What's your response? Can you write a letter? Can you send an email? Can you make a phone call? Can you make a presentation that shows that why this doesn't reflect human and gospel values? So this is a commercial that we can analyze briefly. So, oh, by the way, somebody has to let me know the time because I'm a wanderer. I'll go walk about with my presentation. So what was that? First time I saw it, I got really moved. And then the apple showed up. So, did it touch any of you? Did it kind of draw you in? Because it's Christmas, it's family. So, that was just like a normal middle-class family, right? So, what was going on? Well, family was going to be with family for Christmas. But there was the boy kind of standing on the outside. He wasn't including himself, right? And then what did he do? Anybody?
Filming. Filming.
A little louder?
Created the video.
That's right. So he created a gift for the family, a memory that would last forever. And doesn't everybody want that? So what happens with this is that this is emotional. And companies want you to have an emotional relationship with their products. And what they use is sentimentality, music, children, usually, animals, and humor. Those are and nostalgia. Those are key components when you have a company that really wants to create that emotional connection. So when it comes time to buy a phone, what do? We go, well, I think I'll get an iPhone, even though it costs an arm and a leg, right? That's what's happening. And they'll do it every time. If you come to my media mindfulness workshop, if you come to that, I'll show you a couple of other, well, a few others. So, let's go back to that Apple commercial for a second. Was it true? Well, that was a middle-class family. Could everybody afford an Apple, an Apple phone, an iPhone? No, so it's aspirational. It's getting you to spend your hard-earned money, middle-class money, on really expensive products. So is it true? Was it helpful? Well, until we saw the Apple sign, sure. Then was it inspiring? To a certain degree. Was it necessary? Probably not. But was it kind? Well, except all the people who were probably judging the boy because he wasn't participating. But in the end, yes, it was. So you can see how that can work. So critical media literacy and media mindfulness leads us to the idea of, will always bring us to the idea of culture and a throwaway culture because it's so connected to a consumer culture. And then the role of technology and in the sense of how much e-waste is created. Once we start talking about these things, we always come to Catholic social teaching, and one of the main points of Catholic social teaching is, of course, care for the earth, but the human person, first of all. So who is the human person in a digital age? This could have been a presentation all on its own, because it's Christian anthropology, but it takes us again to Catholic social teaching. The human person is at the center, as an individual in community and as a community of individuals. Who do we speak to? Do we just speak to those who are in our parish? How do we go beyond that into the worlds of people who don't have it as we do? I'm just going to show a little bit. This is too long of a clip, but this is what they do in Singapore for e-waste. And I'm wondering if in Australia and New Zealand you might have the same.
I'm actually here for a meeting with Singtel, and apparently Singtel and SingPost are working together on this e-waste program. So I'm actually here to learn more about it.
Okay, good. So Singtel and SingPost, we collaborated and designed and launched this program called Recycle on World Environment Day 2017. The idea is really to give consumers a very convenient means of disposing of their electronic waste in a responsible manner, and also for the precious metals in the electronic waste to be extracted for reuse and repurposed. And also more importantly, to prevent any toxic materials in electronic waste from harming the environment.
So why is it so important?
Right. Electrical and electronic waste today is one of the main waste stream in Singapore. Also because of technological advancements and also product obsolescence. Like today consumers, they change their mobile phones like every 9 months to 1 year.
And so actually how much e-waste are being collected every month?
On average, we receive about 500 kilograms of electronic waste just from our program alone. So customers can come to our shop or SingPost offices to drop off their electronic waste in this bin, or they can collect this recycle envelope and mail it.
So you can see what they're doing, and they actually have 2 or 3 different e-waste programs in Singapore. This is in Singapore. Can you imagine in Australia, the United States? And the whole thing about toxic elements getting into the environment, you know, we ship a lot of RE waste from the States, used to go to Bangladesh. I think it still does. There are no laws to protect women in their reproductive years. And all those toxic chemicals getting into their bodies, they aren't providing gloves or any type of protective wear. What we don't see, we don't think about, we're not concerned about. And that's why it's good to think about and even do our own research on what happens when we turn in our e-waste. What happens with it? So I have 3 phones. I have one from my community, I have one from the Archdiocese of Los Angeles that I someday have to return because they give every sister and priest there got either an iPhone or an iPad, and that was, it was a free program because of something that one of the Verizon or telecom companies owed them money for use of their building, and they paid them back instead of in cash in technology for clergy and for religious. So, and my third phone is an Android, because in Italy, if you want a debit card, you go to the post office to get a debit card, which was news to me, and then you need the app. You can't use an app on your computer, you have to use an app on your phone. And my iPhone was bought in America, and it was impossible to change countries because I had so many subscriptions and connections. So the only alternative was to get a cheap Android so that I had a banking app to use. And when I go back to the States, I'll leave it behind. But just to say, it's kind of ridiculous, isn't it, to have three phones? How many do you have? How many do your kids have? How many does your spouse have? That's another question. There's a little clip I'll show you in a minute. It's kind of funny. So I just want to revisit Catholic social teaching. You all know this, but to think about it and develop, even for any of you who are teachers or no teachers, or for articles for your paper, to take each point of Catholic social teaching, and sometimes there's 10 themes or principles of Catholic social teaching depending on how it's presented, and then apply it to the digital landscape. It could actually be a doctoral dissertation if you wanted it to be. And to look at the impact on the environment, the physical, spiritual, and mental health of people. So let's talk a little bit now about algorithms, my favorite. Did you all see The Imitation Game? So Alan Turing, you should see it if you can. It's about 50% accurate. Because he didn't work alone. He worked not just in a small team. During World War II in England, there was really a bunch of people working together. But he was the principal father of the algorithm that probably they think brought World War II to an end 2 years before it would have ended. So algorithms are step-by-step procedures or sets of rules designed to solve specific problems or perform tasks, often used in computing to process data and achieve desired outcomes efficiently. Categories. But who decides on the criteria that you use to create a process? This is problematic. So, I don't know if Netflix, anybody? There's a movie on Netflix called Coded Bias. We'll watch the trailer in a minute. So this woman, Joy Buolamwini, when she went to MIT in Boston to university, she discovered that the gaming world favors white males quite by accident. And now she's doing something about it. She wants to keep algorithms human. So she wrote a book called Unmasking AI to do that. So let's look at the trailer for the film that you can see on Netflix.
During my first semester at MIT, I got computer vision software that was supposed to track my face. It didn't work until I put on this white mask. I'm thinking, all right, what's going on here? Is it the lighting conditions? Is it the angle at which I'm looking at the camera, or is there something more? That's when I started looking into issues of bias that can creep into technology.
Our ideas about technology that we think are normal are actually ideas that come from a very small and homogeneous group of people.
Vast amounts of data at incredible speeds.
Everybody has unconscious biases, and people embed their own biases into technology.
This kid got stopped as a result of facial recognition misidentification, and then used that as justification to search you. This is an innocent child.
Racism is becoming mechanized.
Systemic issues are only going to be hardwired into new technologies.
any data-centric technology.
Every day, we are all being scored.
Who gets hired? Who gets housing?
I am making predictions for your life right now.
The people who own the code deploy it on other people, and there is no accountability.
Management analytic towers wanted to install the facial recognition software. Pretty much turned this place into Fort Knox.
The technology is being rapidly adopted, and there are no safeguards.
We are socially controlled in a way that we don't see.
Technology that analyzes faces could be biased, but the company is pushing it anyway.
What demographic is it most effective on?
White men.
Show me that it's going to be fair, that it's legal, before you put it out. That's what we don't have yet.
It's going to take people coming together, striving for justice in this age of automation.
It's quite a shocking revelation, this film, and I really urge you to watch it. And you can join what she, the author of the book and the subject of the film, has started the Algorithm Justice League, AJL.org. And it's free, and it's just a way to stay informed and to advocate for accountability. I don't know how it is in Australia. In the US, we have some guidelines that are voluntary. Of course, nobody's accountable, right? And so it's problematic. The European Union is the first body, governing body, to come out with actual legislation regulating AI. However, it took them 2 or 3 years to develop that, and by the time it went into effect this year, I think in January, it already needed updating. We can't just set in a bunch of laws and rules and expect them to last. With digital technology, it's always changing, it's always moving, and it's always teaching itself something new. So here's some initiatives, Catholic initiatives that you might be aware of. The Vatican News is a really nice resource and you know, they're pretty, sometimes they're more upfront than I would expect from the Vatican news source about the church, about clergy, about, of course, the clergy abuse crisis and other issues, economy, Vatican economy, and things like that. Word on Fire is Bishop Barron, and I love him or not, he's very effective in what he does. The Hallow app, any of you on that? That's the prayer app, yes? And anybody here watch The Chosen? Has it started here? Okay, I just want you to know that Jonathan Roumie, who plays Jesus, is a personal friend of mine. He's a very fine person, which makes it nice that when you have an actor who kind of lives up to what he's preaching. Carlo Acutis online, the Eucharistic Miracles. I also want to say that 2 years ago I met his mother, but just by chance in Assisi. And she's a lovely person. And after he died, she went to school to study theology. She got a degree in theology. And after he died, he said to her, "You're going to have more children," and she had a set of twins. Did you know all this? Yeah, it's a great story. And if you go to Assisi and you get to see his body, I said to her, "How did you manage this beautiful young boy, about 6 feet tall, you know, he's just so beautiful. How did you manage? How did you deal with the loss?" And she said, "We didn't know he was sick. We didn't expect it. It was something that was out of the norm, out of unusual. We just dealt with it and the way things have come." So anyway, that's just a little aside. Catholic Relief Services is another really active online site. The Pope's Worldwide Prayer Network. Busted Halo, I'll show a piece of that. Ascension Presents is a very successful website too for evangelization, but it's one priest. And and even with Bishop Barron, one bishop. And sometimes what happens is that there's so much of an identification with the person rather than the message that can get blurred. The other problem is also profit. You know, you start a nonprofit, but then you start for-profits, like Dynamic Catholic with Matthew Kelly. He's got 3 nonprofits and 1 for-profit, and the nonprofits buy from the profit company. So what is that? You know, what ethically, it may not be a legal problem, but it might be an ethical problem there. But meanwhile, the material that he's putting out there seems to be really reaching people. Catholic media influencers online, and I think that's Australian. Let's watch this for a minute.
Podcasts production. To learn more about OSV Podcast Network, visit osvpodcasts.com.
I love Jesus. I really do. I don't like everything about him. Now, this might be heretical, but I don't like that he asks me to change things in my life that are really difficult to change. And I thank God, because even though I don't like these things, and I don't like that Jesus does these things, I love him too much to walk away.
Ministry presents the Catholic Influencers Podcast. Join me, Alyssa Aegis, and my co-hosts,
Father Rob Gallia
and Justine Hughes, as we break open the Sunday Mass readings and explore relevant topics and life issues from a Catholic perspective.
So you all watched this already. But there's another Catholic influencers, and I'm not sure how they're connected, but it was started by a young woman. Most of the others were started by men. Can you play this? I'll just play this for a second. This is by the Paulist Fathers in the United States, the radio show. This is like a PowerPoint about it. With that, I guess I have to wrap up. I was going to do a little bit on planning, but let me just say one thing about planning for communications. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So be sure to plan what you want to do, and that's how you will accomplish it. So thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you for not falling asleep.